Welcome to the Rebel Road Show.
How many tulips is too many tulips?
We're talking with people making money off the beaten path. Let's kick it over to Madeline, who's got some drinks for us.
Tequila, gin.
Oh, and I'm getting paid for this too? Dope.
Every shoot's almost Fyre Fest, right? We're a picture of a sandwich away from just being canceled. Every shoot.
Cheers.
And what's up, Josh?
What's up, buddy?
Welcome to the dojo. What do you think?
I love it. I haven't seen it for a long time, and it's filled out. It's more pro than professional.
And that's the first time we've had a dog. We got Ricky Gervais walking around here.
Yep, the dog, one and only. She is happy to be here.
Yeah,
blew your mind.
You did blow my mind. It's a trap. I always say it's a he because of Ricky. But
Yep. If you take the time, you'll see a vagina.
that's funny. All right. So listen, the reason I brought you on is because you are one of the most interesting people I know. My observation of you is that you're extremely curious, and you have allowed that curiosity to kind of let you flow into different passions throughout your life. And it's really inspiring to me. I remember when you first started doing street photography, after work, you would go and you're like, I'm going to go walk around Queens for 2 hours and walk up to some random people. And I was just like, wow. So for those that don't know Josh, I'll break it down. We got, you are a street photographer. You are a editor. You are a filmmaker. You are a former touring musician, tech enthusiast, Bitcoin enthusiast, and the fly fisherman. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I got to ask you, how have you gone from being a touring musician in high school to this path that you're on?
I guess it's just, I don't know exactly, but I think it has to do with just that curiosity that I've always had. I've always been like wanting to like experience things firsthand to get the knowledge of that. So I remember driving like through Chicago. I'm from Northern Illinois and like the more rural areas, but I would drive in to see my dad in Chicago, and I would be like, what does that neighborhood look like? Like, I want to experience, even as a small kid, like I want to experience that neighborhood. And that's how I like viscerally learn things.
How old were you when you got in a van and started touring?
Yeah.
Venues and playing music.
It was really amazing because it feels like another world ago, technologically wise and culturally wise. But this band that I joined, we were called the Smocks. Two other guys, awesome guys, they're doctors and lawyers now, but at the time they were just punk ass rich kids in the nice burbs of Milwaukee. But we'd been playing shows even in like adult venues for a couple of years. I mean, we started when we were like 14, and by 16, we'd already recorded a professional album, which we self-funded. I was bagging groceries to help contribute to this thing. The main guy, Joe, was a super charismatic guy and just wrangled everybody. He spent like $500 on long distance phone calls using a magazine, like a free zine that you could get at like record stores, called Book Your Own Fucking Life, which was a magazine with people that would like submit to it, and they would say, hey, I'll take you in for a night and set up a show for you in my small town in America if you agree to return the favor when my band comes through your town.
Oh, wow.
And now that thing became a website. I don't know where it's at now, but at the time it was just a zine. And we booked a whole tour like that, which had like some successes and a lot of failures. We showed up to some shows that weren't shows at all, and it was just us, and we didn't play.
Just a weird guy in a robe?
Yeah, basically. And sometimes we slept on hardwood floors and some like punk kid. And so we had a month, and we drove out to California and back in this van that we bought, and we did it all ourselves. And our parents today are like, don't even remember why they allowed us to do that.
How old were you at that time?
16.
16, just getting in a van and being like, see you later. And there's no like cell phones at this time?
Okay, so we brought a friend on who had a cell phone. And
Zach Morris?
Basically, he was the Zach Morris of our friends.
So we got 2 cell phones and 2 fuzzbusters, a laptop computer, a pager, American Online Access, a TV, Super Nintendo.
He figured out how to turn it into a hotspot and hook up a laptop for GPS, which was like mission impossible in 1996.
What GPS? What
I don't know. Like
He worked for the government?
basically, I don't even know what he's doing now, but like super techie at the time.
Wow.
It was amazing. But
I had a beeper in 1996.
see that
and a
was
roll of
fancy.
quarters.
Yeah. The fancy kids around
Well, I was
us
a
did.
doctor. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Well, you know what was interesting though? That all the kids in our friend group, we didn't call ourselves straight edge, really,
Right.
but we just the way to be punk rock was actually to not do drugs and drink. Like that was the way to rebel. Because
Very 1996.
the rich kids, the rich driving Mercedes and shit, they were doing like designer drugs and cocaine and smoking weed. And so for us to like separate ourselves from that, like we didn't do that. So we were like saints going on the road. We were like nice kids from good homes, didn't touch a drop.
You told
of
your parents
alcohol.
you're a Jehovah's Witness. That's what this tour was.
Basically. I mean, I don't even know how it happened. So
16 years old doing. I mean, I couldn't imagine doing that. I mean, at 18, I was an intern in the city and getting lost going on the subway where they'd ask me to do a run, and 3 hours later I would return empty-handed. So
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine getting in a van, no cell phones, no nothing, and just
I know. I don't even think we like contacted our parents much. Like, I don't even know what, I can't
Well-
even remember how we did that.
crazy. So what did
Yeah.
that experience teach you just doing that at that young age?
I mean, the only goals I've ever had in life is like, I want to be part of interesting projects.
Right.
I never was able to say, I want to be a doctor or a drummer or whatever. I just like, I don't know. I just want to have interesting friends doing interesting things. I never thought about money. I never thought about stuff like that until recently.
It's taken you far though. So that's
I guess so.
a good mantra to have. I mean, it would be nice to save a little bit and invest, but
I mean, I started 2 years ago. So
Right.
yeah.
it's okay. You got into the right things really. I'm not straight edge, so I need a drink. Jay, what are we drinking? What are we drinking today?
What'd you call it? A Greyhound or something?
Yeah, Greyhound?
The Peter
Since
Pan
Josh,
bus?
since
something
Josh
like
is
that?
on tour, we'll get on the bus. Give me a Greyhound.
That's Can right. we
You
swear
took
on
off
this
the
podcast?
label, so I don't know what type of juice this is. I'm going to guess grapefruit. Maybe that will do. And seltzer. Who doesn't like seltzer? My dad sure does. And this brandless vodka we got here, too. Which we're not going to put in
In
Josh's
case there's
drink.
some underwriters that want to
Yeah,
join the podcast.
yeah. If anyone wants to
Let's hope
slap
I don't
a brand on
mix up these. I'll get started here. You
All
guys
right.
can do
Thank
you.
Thank you,
Might take me
Jason.
a while. I've never done
Thank
this
you,
before in my
Jason.
life.
So Jay works with us. He's a filmmaker himself, amazing director, editor, shooter, does it all, comedian, not bartender.
Not bartender.
And we asked him to join the conversation because he kind of shares the same curiosities that we do, and you know has those same sensibilities, and he's a fun guy. So
And me and you have worked together for like a decade,
yeah,
8 years. I don't know.
since 2014.
So what is that? 8 years.
So that's 8 years.
And then Jay has worked
Jay
with us
since 2017.
I started in May of 2016.
and
He's like,
Zux.
don't shortchange you.
And Zux has worked.
Zux
How
is, I mean, I don't know because I slow played him. It's hard to know. I've known Zux probably since the tiny office. So that's 2018.
Okay. So that's 4 years.
2018. He slid in
That's
the
4
DMs.
years.
He slid in the DMs, which is where I live. So the
Beautiful.
cheers.
Thank you, Jason.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Jason.
Pete.
Why don't you make one for yourself?
Yeah.
do that?
Spike it double times.
Just to go back, so you're after college, you become a musician. Estate is a band that's playing bigger shows. You know, it's totally different than when you were 16. What was touring with them and creating albums
Yeah.
with them like for you?
I mean,
and
that-
did you think that was something you were going to do for a long time?
Yeah. So I had the cliche ecstasy trip that I watched the band Air. You know band Air, the French band. They at the time were playing like this.
Sexy boys.
Exactly. They were playing.
okay.
Yeah, they were playing that style of their music, which is like electro dancey stuff. And I was on ecstasy, and I'm like, that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. And for the next like 15 years, that is what I did.
15 years you're with Estate.
I think so, because even when I moved to New York, we were still making music remotely. One guy was in Tokyo, one guy was in Minneapolis, one guy was in New York. We were sending files, and we made what I'm most proud of even at the time when we weren't even in the same room. But the 12 years before that, we were living in the same house, like our whole lives revolved around it. I could just indulge in that 100%, where before it was like I had high school or I had this responsibility or whatever. So I was just like thriving.
Did you
at the
do
time.
odd jobs while you're doing that, or could
Yeah.
it pay the bills?
No. We never really made like livable wages off of music. Worked in the food industry. I was a cook and I served food at night. But it was like altogether, it was probably 20 hours a week. Like it was nothing. And we were able to just do music every day. We did it for many, many years.
Now, you guys, I've seen your
Yeah.
stuff. That the music videos was like some of the most interesting things I've seen, where you took like clips from old 70s, 80s,
Yeah.
obscure television shows and just recut them
Yeah.
to make these like probably what's like would be super popular right now, which probably wasn't as popular in the early 2000s or late 90s.
It was like right at the birth of YouTube. So we were able to like rip some of this archival stuff. We were able to then like project that live. We would tour with a giant screen that would fill like our whole stage.
And were you cutting those at the time?
Yeah. So that's what taught me about
Editing
and video stuff.
Now, I heard an interesting story where you were on a reality show,
Mm-hmm.
and the way that they edited that dating show kind of gave you the epiphany of the power of editing. So talk to me a little bit
Yeah.
about what was the show.
Eliminate.
You got to be a certain generation
Yes.
to know that one.
And you knew that one, right?
I knew that
Yeah.
one, yes.
It was a hot show for maybe, what do you think, 4 years, 5 years? 6
It had
years?
its moment. I think it was on
Yeah.
probably like Channel 9 or
Yeah.
whatever that like is now the WB.
But it went into syndication, and they would play like the hell out of it too at like 4 PM or something. But it came through Minneapolis, and my friends said, "Hey, let's go audition for that." And
It was like sitcom Bachelor, right? It's one
Yeah.
episode. There's four
Yes.
guys,
Exactly.
one girl, and you're all on a date together, which is,
yeah, and you get eliminated if you're not good.
and then throughout the date, she's eliminating people.
Yeah, like right before every commercial
Pressure.
break. It's like a perfect structure
Pressure.
for 22 minutes of a half-hour show. And so when they came through Minneapolis, my friends were like, "Hey, let's do it." But I was like, I wasn't confident. I wasn't going to I didn't have that sort of confidence to go and put myself out there and do that. I never was able to I never was confident in dating and stuff like that. But I showed up. I think we smoked weed in the car before we went in. Then at the last minute, they convinced me to actually wait in line and audition. And two of my friends that really wanted to get in, they didn't get picked. And then me and another friend, we got picked for different episodes. And they kept on being like, "Hey, what's your pickup lines? Like when you go meet a girl?" And I'm like, I don't know. I've never done that. I don't know. I just don't know. And they're like, "Okay, great. That's great. Like, what do you do?" I'm like, "I'm a musician." They're like, "Oh, have you written songs for girls before?" I'm like, yeah, actually I have, And they're like, "Great. That's great." And then they called me back for another interview like a month later, and they're asking me the same things. I'm like, I don't know how to talk to girls. I had a girlfriend, but that just happened coincidentally. I don't know. And they're like, "Great. This is great." And so
You're a loser. This is great.
Yeah,
This is great. We
You're
know
awkward.
exactly the box we're going to put you in.
exactly. You're awkward as fuck. Just come over here and just humiliate yourself.
Were you nervous going into that taping? Like, what the hell am I doing? This goof has gone too far.
Yeah, not quite yet, I don't think, because I was like, it's like in my personality to just like try things out and then think about it later, which is, I can regret sometimes, but I was like, this is too weird. I have to just see this through. So so right away, some kid who's like exactly my age is my like producer, handler person. And it's like 10:30 a.m. and he's like feeding me Coronas. He's like, drink this, drink this, drink this. I'm like, oh yeah, reality TV is just alcohol and drug fueled.
Yeah.
As I realized like at that moment.
Get those
that's
inhibitions
yes.
down. Say some embarrassing things.
all good TV.
Why do you think we have you liquored up right now?
That's right.
Oh,
What-
you're not. You learned something.
I'm-
You sly bastard.
My mocktail is faux fucking me up. I never was like a big drinker, so like drinking 3 beers would like fuck me up.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll take 2. Because I was a little nervous. Now that you say that, I was nervous. So I was like, yeah, I should have a beer.
Well,
This
it's
is
just
crazy.
super awkward.
It's super awkward. It was so awkward.
Hi,
How are you doing?
You.
Nice to meet you finally.
Nice to meet you too. Are you excited for this?
I'm excited. A little baseball, tailgate, definitely.
Good deal.
And are the producers just like, you can tell they're trying to like steer you in questions
yes.
and put angle your
Yes,
character.
Exactly. So this handler who's like your buddy for the day, who's exactly your age, he's like, hey, the next round, she's going to ask you about X, Y, or Z. What are you going to say? And I'll be like, I don't know. I don't know. And he's like, oh, because 4 months ago, you said this.
Oh, they got notes.
They were keeping elaborate notes. They had already cast me into that box.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And what box do you think they try? You're the artsy guy that's going to be shy. That's not going to be. It's going to get eliminated early.
yes, exactly. That's too quiet, right?
Yeah.
So we, the 4 guys, the girl was fine. She was like this Minnesota girl, just like whatever. She was fine. The 4 guys were like, cool. Like we all were getting along. And
Not
it's
good for the show.
Not good for TV.
There was definitely a quick
Yeah.
brainstorm from the production crew
They
to
yelled
figure
cut and they said, look, you guys have to be more confrontational. This is not working. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to bust some balls. And so we all tried that, like we all tried like, and this went on for hours. I mean, even my one segment, this is spoiler, I got cut first.
Who do you think Lindsay will eliminate first? Brock, Josh, Tori, or Travis?
Oh.
Because I was the nice
They
guy.
get you in that box.
They put me in the box. Like I played like 5 different personalities and characters in that day that I was filming. And for the next like 9 months before it came out, I was like terrified of what character they were going to pick that I played. The asshole douchey guy who was making fun of people for petty things. This guy, I don't even know. And all my friends were like, okay, we're going to have a party and have the viewing. And I was like, no, let's not do that.
Yeah.
And so, so those 9 months passed and we had this screening in my room. We had a lot of friends in there. And the editors must have liked me because they used like the more flattering things that I said. They were very kind to me in the edit. And they made me funny in a lot of respects. Like I'm not embarrassed of the show anymore because I kind of got in a couple good quips, but
Right.
they also edited me. Like when people were talking, they would like, because ultimately when she cut me, she said, oh, you're such a nice guy, but you're a little quiet. So I got to cut you because you're not my thing. It's like, okay, that's fine. But they would edit in before that, like me just like looking around the room. Like
when you didn't
Yeah.
even know the cameras were rolling.
It was probably just taken totally out of context. Yeah, exactly. Like, and I was just like, huh? Like, what are these adults talking about? Huh? And really, they could have used me being like, yo, nice shoes, dork.
So you were nervous when you saw it, or did you feel relieved?
I did. I was relieved because they could have made me look completely douchey.
That's the power of editing.
That was what I realized, the power of editing, and I was, at the time I was already I had already done some video stuff, but that was a big awakening. Like you're the maestro.
Does Eliminate then set you on this course to like explore editing?
I guess, I can't say that like I knew what I wanted to be from that moment on, but I was knee deep into music at that point. Really, I didn't know as far as professionally that I could make editing a viable like moneymaker until I moved out to New York. I told somebody I was a good editor and I got into this like corporate gig and I had to learn like super quick. And
Right.
so
You say corporate gigs, but you've worked at Vice, Time, Sports Illustrated,
you,
Rebel Road. I mean, you've worked
Yeah.
for major media companies making big productions. Like editing has taken you very far.
Yeah, it has. I've thrived in New York because of it.
I think like what people don't realize that editing is a grueling deadline focused creative session that you're sitting in a dark room. You have a lot of cooks in the kitchen and you're trying to put together your best work. Sometimes one note blows up a whole timeline. What I find really fascinating about you is that after a 10-hour mental grueling day, one day you just started picking up a camera that I didn't even know you were a shooter. And you just would be like, I'm going to Queens for 3 hours and I'm going to walk around and take photos of people. And like, Jason, do you remember were you there when he started doing the street photography?
When I met Josh, he was already
doing it. Well, I remember when he was doing it and I'm like, I can't believe that he's leaving work and wanting to do this. And then like, I could see like that curiosity in you, that it was really inspiring you, re-energizing you. And like, it grew into something way more than what I thought was like a hobby, right? You've now, like, HuffPost put an article that you were a top 10 street photographer in America right now. Like that.
They actually said world. But whatever.
World. No, and and I watched that birth from a hobby after work that I was like, I didn't know he shoots. And then all of a sudden, like, the images you came back had a certain look and they were interesting. And what speaks to your curiosity is that, like, it was always people that, like, were the most interesting people because I wouldn't necessarily seek them out, right? There's somebody that said, like, you go up to everyone on the subway that I try to avoid. It's a guy with a black eye that looks like he just might have been mugged 4 days ago and has been sleeping on the street. You will go and sit with them. So where that curiosity comes from to just go up to a random stranger that might not have had anybody interact with them that day.
I know exactly where this started from because I kind of told that story about, driving through Chicago and wanting to, like, experience those neighborhoods and stuff. It's partly that. But when I was in college, I was in a photography kind of 101 black and white class, manual camera, film, 35 millimeter. And the teacher said, hey, we have a couple months till the final or whatever. You guys have to go out and figure out your own project and make it cohesive. We're going to have a show with, 10 pieces, let's say. And so I had, like, a lot of time to make a big project. And I assigned myself a project where I went out on the Minneapolis bus system and rode the buses to meet and take pictures of people, which is, like, even intimidating to me now after, like, 20 years of doing street photography. From there, like, I really, even without calling myself a street photographer or even a photographer, throughout my whole life from when I was like 20 on, I was slowly taking street photos and not realizing it. So by the time I got to New York and I was kind of happy with where I had been with music, we had made a lot of accomplishments and we had started making money through, like, getting on movies and TV shows and stuff like that, which we are still getting. I'm on the new Dynasty. We just got like 4 songs on the new Dynasty.
I'm more shocked there's a new Dynasty.
I know, me too. So I'd slowly been taking street photos that whole time until I got to New York. Then I realized, oh my God, like, I must be interested in this because I have some really good photos.
I couldn't imagine doing that. To me, like, the random person that's unexpecting of my intrusion into their day is so, I don't know. I feel way more reservations about that, to run up to them with a camera and invade that space. But somehow you navigate that so well.
I mean, it has to come organically. Otherwise, you're just going to weird people out.
You approach it in an unassuming, nice way. It's not like paparazzi in LA. I think people probably think of street photographers and think of something aggressive like that.
That's right, yeah. But, like, there's people like Bruce Gilden, who's kind of like this well-known, popular guy. He's this big New York guy. He must be 6'4" or something like that. He would hop out in front of an old lady 2 inches away, hit her with a flash, and then take a photo of the next guy over. And she would be like, have a heart attack. That kind of clogs up the conversation of what street photography is. Like, I like to talk to people sometimes before I even take the photo, or take a photo, then talk to them. And then I'll take photos of moments in between the cracks.
How do you decide who to go up to when you're roaming the streets?
I mean, it's so varied depending on my mood, depending on who's available, who's around. I mean, I don't really know how to answer that question very easily because I put myself into these environments that, I'm kind of waiting for the thing to interact with me, to give me a signal that I should interact with it. Like,
you're just Kane from Kung Fu. You're just walking the earth.
I'm walking the earth. I'm kind of actually looking for signs of serendipity and fate, which sounds lofty and whatever, but I really think that's what I'm interested in, because I have one side of my brain, and I'll tell you a long story that supports the genesis of this, but I have one side of my brain that's, like, very scientific and pragmatic, and it's like the vast majority of my brain, but I have this, like, sliver of brain where I've experienced things that are so serendipitous and coincidental that it's hard to explain, and it makes me wonder if there is a greater plan, which I really don't think there is.
Or just a simulation.
Or a simulation that Elon Musk is programming in real time.
It just leads to you buying a Tesla at the end. That's all.
Yeah, it's a really uninteresting result. But so when I was riding those buses around, a guy hopped on a bus that was seemed kind of like a homeless guy. He was a little frantic, and he sat right next to me, and I said, "Hey man, can I take your photo?" And he said, "Oh, I'll let you take my photo if you buy one of my cassette tapes. It's $3 or something like that." I was like, "Okay, deal." So I took like 2 or 3 frames, which was very blurry. Meanwhile, I'm a freshman in college at this art school, and I need to make money, so I join the work-study program, and I get assigned, I think I must have picked to be in like the maintenance department at the college, which was this little building off to the side of the campus. 2 people ran it, and I just was like sweeping the floors and doing dumb things. And I worked there 2 days a week, and every day that I worked, my job was to hose off the human feces that was right outside our doorstep in the corner.
This was a problem that was happening a lot of. There's just a feces problem at the doorstep.
Every day that I worked, I had to do that for weeks and weeks and weeks until they had me actually use some of my construction skills to build a fence, like a hinged door fence. I built this like nice double tiered thing. I don't even know how I knew how to do that, but I did it.
Every day, just poop outside the door.
Every day, hose, power spray.
You were thinking
clean.
dog at this point?
No, we knew it was human.
Human.
And we even
what gives that away? Just the size.
Size, little aroma, girth.
Okay. Not a greyhound per se.
No. You kind of just know.
Okay.
You know. And it was the same spot. So we called them the Mad Crapper because we thought it was one guy that pooped in the same spot every time. And so I built this fence to kind of block off this little perfect bathroom nook in this little corner. And well, he just shat right in front of the fence. So it didn't work. So the maintenance guy, Dan, that ran the department, he finally convinced the school to buy a security system to capture this guy so we could I guess get the cops involved and patrol the place more. I don't know.
We gotta catch the Mad Crapper.
Yeah, he's on the loose. Solid. I mean, it was solid stool, but he's on the loose.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so he did. He installed the camera system. And so weeks after I took this photo, I'm in the 4th floor photography lab, cutting and mounting out this thing for my photo show. And my boss guy, Dan, walks by me, which is like a 1 in a trillion chance that he'd be on the 4th floor at the same time. And he walks by and he said, "Hey, where did you get the photo?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "That's the Mad Crapper." I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Come with me." We go right down to the security footage room. He puts in the tape. He pulls up the thing. And I'm like, yeah.
Was it all blurry like this?
No, it was like, you could see it. It was the guy.
Wow.
That I had interacted with. Like the guy I had been cleaning feces of for weeks and weeks and weeks.
Was on the bus with you.
On the other side of town.
You have his mixtape.
I have his mixtape. I have 3 frames of photo of him. And I'm like, and then Dan was in the wrong place at the right time. Like, what is the odds of that?
That's pretty wild.
And so then I ran into this guy a couple weeks later, which isn't crazy for Minneapolis because it's not a huge city, but it's like... and
you're like, dude, stop taking a shit.
No. So I'm like, being like a young, ambitious photographer, I'm like, "Hey, can I take more photos of you?" And
Mad Crapper series.
The Mad Crap. And so he invites me to his house, which turns out he's not homeless, but he has a government subsidized house and he lives with his wife who's very ill, but super actually funny and smart. So I spent a year taking photos in their house once a week or twice a week. I don't remember what it was. And I never had the heart to tell him what I knew. That I had cleaned his shit off the pavement.
Why do you think he was doing it?
Yeah, why? He has a house. He has a toilet.
I don't
Was it something
know.
about the school? You think he had beef with the school?
No, he wasn't a malicious guy. He had psychological issues. He was really funny. He was really kind of full of energy, but he had addiction issues and he had some probably schizophrenic issues. And he was a really cool guy. I really liked him. And his tapes were like he would like record on a boombox playing the guitar to do like Christian songs.
What was the tape like?
Just to play record on a boombox with a tiny little microphone built in, and he would like do like a Christian song. But he wasn't like recruiting me or anything like that. And one time he like borrowed $15 from me, and he like mailed it back to me in the mail.
Wow.
The school didn't like go after him. They had him on security.
Yeah,
like,
they didn't start
What
grilling
was the
you?
sort of end to that? He just eventually stopped crapping in that corner.
It kind of like fizzled out. Like I don't know if he stopped or what happened. I think actually because the security tape was taken, they had like a patrol guy from the school like circle the area a little bit more because it was kind of off to the side of the school. And I don't know if he just stopped or what, but
Or maybe
like,
he noticed the camera. Sometimes
Maybe.
just putting the camera
Yeah.
there deters people. Like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna find.
if
somewhere else
I
to
don't
crap.
even know.
And yeah, the serendipity of it is crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And so like it's been moments like that have called my pragmatic scientific brain into question. I mean, I'm not really making a case that there is a God and there's a plan for me. I really don't think that's the case. But some of these things are so fucking weird.
But just like going into a random human being's house that you meet on the street is wild to me.
You know, but like you
just get the sense, right?
You interview people. You're a quick judge of character.
I think everyone's kind of got that in them.
Yes, I agree. People are great judges of character for like authentic, sincere people. We know that about each other really quickly. Like I knew this guy was not a
If someone's got like some kind of schizophrenic thing that things could change quickly. So it's
true.
interesting. There's a danger to your art for sure. Is there moments where you have been scared or been like, man, maybe I should end this now?
Yeah.
The Hasidic Jewish guy.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. No, that was actually I just thought of that recently. I was over filming Purim, you know, what that's the Hasidic or Jewish holiday of where it's like their Halloween. They dress up.
Did not know that.
Okay, so Brooklyn, these big neighborhoods turn into like an amazing scene. There's elaborate costumes. I can't remember what day that happens on, but it's like
It's coming up, Purim.
It's coming?
I think it's next
Okay.
week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What are the costumes like? Like
Happy
typical
Purim,
like
everyone.
Spider-Man shit?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, Spider-Man.
You can
like-
wear whatever you want.
Yeah, it's just like Halloween, but like, and they throw these giant parties. It's like a big deal to them. It's like, and I was over there filming like 2 days just for fun. I was at the time trying to get New York Times to hire me. So I was pitching this story. It turned out they hired a Jewish photographer, which made a lot of sense.
who
But
had way better access than you.
But I got good access. I was into people's houses. I went into the
Really?
big parties. I called people ahead. I like produced it myself. I said, hey, can I go to your party? It was like 1,000 people at this party. It was super fun.
I'm not that familiar, but in the Hasidic culture, it's very rare to gain access to certain things, right? If you're an outsider.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're very protective.
They were very cool on this holiday, at least. I've heard that about
yeah.
other situations, but on this holiday, they were very welcoming. I got into some like temples where they were actually
I think they recognize that this is an opportunity for them to show how normal they are, and we do
This
these
is it on
fun,
the left.
elaborate holidays, and everyone's
Yeah.
happy, and look at the good time everyone's having. We all come together as a community. Like if there was an opportunity to show off Hasidic culture, this is a good thing to show off.
Yeah, it was quite an event and quite a scene. This is like in a temple. I love this photo. It's a like a Jamaican guy. It's kind of hard to see, but the Hasidic guy has like a baggie of dollars and change, and like I swear the guys on the left have bags of weed, but maybe it's like incense or something.
Oh, it'd be amazing. You're catching a deal going down right now.
But you know, and this is one of the things.
What's going on over here?
I mean, this is where these photos, to me, I'm more interested in them in being like Rorschach tests to like get your.
No, you put that in my head. I didn't. You led me down that path. No, I get what you mean though.
Yeah,
What's
I mean,
a Rorschach test?
what's a Rorschach test?
The ink blots.
Oh, to see what you see out of
It's
it.
like to let the viewer understand what the viewer is seeing, and it's completely subjective. But it's not about what my intentions are with a photo like this. It's more I have my theories. I was there and I don't even know. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? That's how little context there is in these photos. I was there. I have no idea what was happening here. You as a viewer have less idea. But the thing I think a lot of viewers think is that they know what's happening because they recognize X, Y, or Z out of this thing. You don't know. I don't know.
Are you taking photos the whole time or this is a quick snap?
I'm there with a flash. I'm very conspicuous.
So probably not a drug deal if a flash went off and they were cool with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's your deductive reasoning. And
or maybe they just give zero fucks.
This is the fun about photography versus video is that we're talking about spelling things out or holding people's hands with video. With photography, you have virtually zero context.
And I like the mystery of it. I'm trying to picture you in there and what was happening. And
exactly.
I'm imagining you as part of the process.
That's the participatory activity of viewing something like a good photo or a good video that treats you like a fucking adult. But keep cycling through. This is like just on the street.
It's horrifying. Whatever the fuck that is horrifying.
There's a black kid in there that was kind of surprised me, but he was like a Hasidic. I don't know.
Hasidic Trumps?
I don't know if they were like mocking American Trumpers.
Probably.
I don't know. They were having fun though.
But there was Spider-Man. I called it.
That was Batman.
Yeah. Okay, pause it here. I went over to this guy. This guy was out on the front porch saying hi to people. And I say, hey, can I take a photo? He goes, hey, yeah, come on in and let me show you my house. So he invites me into his house, this like nice old house in Brooklyn. He's all about comedy. He's like, got this vaudevillian sense of humor.
I mean, those glasses are
yes. And he was super pleasant and jolly. And there was so it turned out he was a doctor that practiced out of this house. And all of his old patients who now have kids are coming by one at a time, knocking on his door. And he's got these presents wrapped, lined up. And so I'm taking photos of like all these things in the middle of this wonderful exchange. His wife is there. She's like giving me cake and shit like that.
So he saw you on the street and invited you in?
Yeah. Okay. I'm in the middle of his living room. And this guy comes just like storming down from the second story, from the stairs. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing here? He starts just yelling at me in the most intense way that I've ever been yelled at, I think, in my life. He's like, get the fuck out of here. I will rip your fucking head off. I will kill you where you stand. Like, he's just going off on me.
Whoa.
And I'm like, no problem. I'm out of here. But he was standing in between me and the door. And when I would try to just I kept calm and I just slowly tried to work my way out of the room, and he kept on like blocking me out. And his dad, this guy, is like, Stevie, don't like nothing. Like
right,
like,
you know you're on an island right now. It's you and the alpha male of the house.
Yeah. Yes.
And he's blocking the exit.
And he's got psychological issues, obviously. It's nothing to do culturally, I don't think, at all, really.
I think it actually is culturally, though.
Really?
Like Hasidic Jews are, I'm speaking in general here, tend to be very protective of their culture and how they do things because they're living. They're like a hyper minority, especially in America, where they do things very differently than the rest of Americans.
Right.
And they know they can be easily judged for that and prosecuted for that in some way.
Yeah.
So they're trying to maintain that as much as they can.
I don't disagree with that, and I can't even speak to it because I don't know their culture well enough, but he was the only one out of thousands of people I encountered in those 2 full days that I shot that behaved anywhere close to that.
But how many people's homes had you entered?
True. That's
they
true.
were very private.
So that leads me to another part of the story. Okay, so stay here now. So
the same house?
No, just I'll get to it. So I finally worked my way out of that situation, and his mom, the older lady, comes running out, and she's like, I am so sorry. I am mortified. Please come back anytime. Please, no. She's like, and I was like, seriously, don't worry about it. I was like, I just was glad to be on that side of the door.
Did he let you out, or you slowly just worked your way out?
Yeah, I just kind of wiggled my way out of there.
Spin moves.
Pick and rolls.
Pick and rolls.
I don't know how. I just stayed calm. I was zen. I was just like, no problem. I'm out. No problem. I just remember saying that.
I can see him doing that. Or you can see Josh is good in that aspect of it where you just flowed like water. Like there's the Bruce Lee quote, you can be like water. Water can crash or water can flow. You can flow.
I had to go into a happy place, but I knew that if I was going to do that, that was the time to do it. And I got out the door and this woman came running after me and I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm not going to come back and visit. I'm pretty good.
Yeah,
we're good.
We're good.
We're good.
He
And
didn't
so-
try to grab your camera or anything.
No, there was no contact made, but the berating went on for like way too long. My heart was racing. And I was going to shoot for like 7 more hours that day. I'm like, I'm going home. My anxiety attack that I'm having deep in my soul is not going to make for a good photograph. So I'm walking back to my car and I hear like klezmer dance music, like this music I've never heard, like blasting.
What's klezmer?
It's a Jewish traditional like clarinet music, like Woody Allen is in like a klezmer band.
Okay.
But this was like EDM, like dubstep EDM klezmer. Like I've never heard shit like this before. And it's lighting up an entire city block with like giant speakers from like the 4th, 5th, 6th floor. And I'm standing at the base of it and I'm looking at the guy. I'm like, and he's like, what's up? I'm like, can I come up there? And he's like, get up here. And so I come up and it's this guy blasting music to the whole fucking world, super loud. And he's the musician. He actually recorded it.
Wow.
And this guy invites me up. They're having like a little get together party. They're like, have some drinks, like super generous. Like what's mine is yours type of person. Right. It like saved the day. Like I was so fucking.
You rebounded.
I rebounded so hard from the worst time I had in that experience. This was the best time. This guy was so much fun.
Did you tell them I just had a hairy experience, or you just?
I don't think so.
You flowed.
I just like was. They were on there. They were just partying, and a bunch of years later, like a year or two ago, we were in like coming back from somewhere international, and you know how you're in those like crazy lines where you show your passports.
Yeah.
He was next to me, and I'm like, I know this kid. And before the moment that I realized I like grabbed him by the arm, and I'm like, dude. I was at your fucking house in Purim, and he's like with his wife and kids and stuff, and he's like, what's that? And we just had this like amazing moment like 4 years later from this brief encounter. I was only over there for 45 minutes maybe.
Now, do you tell your wife after this encounter and is she like, does she get nervous when you go out knowing that like you're flowing into any place that strikes your curiosity?
Yeah, I think she does say like, hey, be safe, you know, but she knows like it's just a statistical game. It goes really back to the dirty little secret that photographers have that like most people like their photos taken. These are statistical anomalies, negative experiences, people not like, and I when they happen, I can diffuse them 9 times out of 10 with, I don't continue to take photos of them.
Right.
You know, I'm not pushing the envelope after that. There's other people to take photos of, you know. I mean, if it was somebody that was an asshole, I would be like, if it was a cop being an asshole, I'd continue to take photos of them because it's a constitutionally protected right, which is a whole nother conversation. I think we all should do that. But if it's a nice person who has like mental disorder, I'm not going to fucking like push those buttons, not even for my safety, but just to not give him a bad day.
Don't be a dick. That's your mantra.
That's my mantra. Yeah. Don't be a dick, and that most people are good people that are willing to share their story if anybody asks them. Someone said today on Twitter that I give the voiceless a voice with my photography, and I was like, I like that. It's the people that like don't always have a chance to tell their story.
Especially in New York, right? In New York, you can just blend away. It's kind of like what you're saying, why you love it. You can act as crazy as you want. But like the fact that they don't with you, you're the magnifying glass that goes up to them and extends that hand.
Look, you're doing that to me, and I'm talking ad nauseum. I love to talk about myself. This is great.
Right.
Like I normally don't. No one gives a fuck of what I have to say.
So what have you learned from going up to the voiceless and listening?
About a million things. I mean, one thing is that those people I am attracted to because they don't see themselves as special, but oftentimes they have the best fucking stories. I think that's just my big takeaway is like everybody has phenomenally interesting stories and are dynamic people, even if we don't have that narrative for ourselves.
Now, you are somebody that's work has been recognized. Like, as I mentioned, that HuffPost article. And then all of a sudden, A24, which is like the premier art cinema company out there right now, taps you for some covers. So it is your street photography, which I'm assuming is not a lucrative business to be a street photographer.
No.
It's more for the love of the game.
Yeah.
Did get notoriety and did present itself to get you work. Now you're shooting movie posters and
True.
for Academy Award winning, films like
It's true,
Minari and
I mean,
Eighth Grade.
I have been lucky and I have had good opportunities. Like the first professional photo job I ever had was for New York Times. I mean, that was pretty cool to just jump the line because my work was seen as of that caliber. I was proud of that. I mean, but yeah, I have had some good press and people have written articles about me, and that's super flattering. And it's the pure recognition that I do appreciate and probably like, but that feeling lasts like 12 hours and then you're back to just where you were before, which is trying to make more good images. Like my friend in a video said, like, he's like, it's not like I can take a good photo and then kick my feet up and buy some fucking speedboats and retire the next day. He's like,
Maybe.
no, he's like, no, I need to keep making more work because he's compelled to do it. So it's kind of like that with me.
But NFTs have kind of opened up the door for that possibility, right?
It's a very, very new world. But right now what we're seeing is people that are adapting that technology and showing commitment to it. People I know in this photo world, which is like art, it's fine art photography. It's not like shit you always want to like hang above your couch. It's like sometimes challenging images. They're getting like 10 ETH for them. 20 ETH. One guy that we
speedboats,
the speedboat money.
One
guy who just somebody told me about today. He sells some of his images for 200 ETH.
What I love about our conversations about crypto and NFTs is that like the two of us look at it different approaches. Like you come from a very fine art lens. I'm looking more at like what's the roadmap utility behind it. I kind of do my shopping on OpenSea, but you are in like Marketplace and Foundation, places that you made me aware of when we were, trying to raffle off some Beeple artwork early on.
Super Rare and Foundation, I feel like are the two main things, but actually OpenSea is actually a utilized world too. They take less fees. They're no barrier of entry, where like Foundation, you have to be invited by somebody who's made a sale.
Okay.
And so it's kind of like allowing the audience to curate who's even on the platform, which has made a very strong artist base. There's some work that isn't very interesting to me, but for photography, it's really, in my opinion, where it's at. And this has only come to be in the last, like, I would say 8 or 9 months. And the story is really fascinating to me because it's super new. And the people that are moving in the space are moving incredibly fast, not just by making work and selling the work, but by starting organizations that are forming DAOs and similar functions as what you're talking about with these apes. Like, what do you talk about, this different stages? I'm blanking.
Roadmap. So
Roadmaps.
like what's usually it's almost like in that world, like a NFT it's almost like a stock, right? So like that picture of that ape came with a project map. So that's almost like seed funding for like a new startup.
Exactly.
I guess that's what they're saying now. These are the new startups. So whether it's a duck or an ape or a CryptoPunk, like that is just seed money that creator, what you're hoping are going to do. And if you did your research, is saying that like phase 2, we will build X, Y, and Z. So, for Bored Apes, it was these exclusive parties that were going to happen. And they almost became like club cards.
Like that same kind of stuff is happening. And it's kind of beyond me on how these photo organizations, like some of the photographers that started like really finding success early on in this space that were making like a lot of ETH, they're quickly forming organizations that is totally trying to give back to expose underrepresented communities or underrepresented artists. And they're doing it in real tangible ways really quickly. They're organizing, coalescing super fast. I can't believe how organized some of these people are. And I'm kind of on the fringes of watching it happening. The photo community that I've always wanted to be a part of, I'm seeing it now in like the past 2 months for the first time in 40 years.
happening online in the NFT blockchain space.
I was part of some cool organizations in New York, but these are my people that are doing this. They're making really high quality work. They're really leaving the ego at the door. They're figuring out how to go directly to the collectors, circumnavigate fucking Nike, which I'm okay with working with brands to get what you want. It's fine. But you used to post on Instagram to attract brands to give you money so you can make your own work. Now you can make your own work, sell it, and make more work. It's such a more fluid.
Right. It's not just for engagement and likes. It's
exactly.
Early on Instagram, there was this kind of like photo revolution, but it's really got watered down pretty fast. But what did happen is that I feel there's a much greater appreciation from the average person for photos. Like most people have seen enough visual language to understand what they like, what works, what doesn't work.
And how to do it themselves.
So this is like a natural progression, I think, for NFTs and photo NFTs in particular to really have a moment, because I feel like, you know, yes, we like and share, you know, kind of vapid things on social media, but there is an appreciation for fine art that maybe wasn't there in the masses as it was before.
And some of these organizations are bringing their previous like fine art collectors with deep pockets into the NFT space and showing them what's happening over here. So this money is now entering right now very rapidly. And I don't want to sound like it's all money. I'm talking about really ways to facilitate more interesting art, more community driven art. People are like making like billboards, renting billboards with these profits, like huge cool things. Like
you're seeing Times Square is being taken over once a week by a new NFT project.
Yeah.
And you know, it's having its moment on social media. It's obviously impacting people on the street. And like, look at the Super Bowl. How many ads?
I know. You know, NFT, let's say in the photo space, it's coming really quickly. It could leave just as quickly as it came in. There's really no predicting. There's no blueprint for this. There's no tried and true track record for where this could be. It's anybody's guess. It's very confusing. I'm going to throw this tons of spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. If it fails, I don't care. I'm just like totally
get in the game.
I'm totally interested in the topics of it. So it's been really fun and exciting. Like I worked really hard.
Let's see some of these
up.
collections. So wait, you have 4 collections up?
Well, 2 of them are blank, and I'm going to add, but it costs you money to mint a collection. So that cost me gas fees just to make a collection.
Yeah, so let's explain that to people. So if you want to get into the NFT game, what is the thing that people aren't going to tell you that you should know about the investment of putting something up on a site? Because this is not like Instagram.
Yeah. So you got to get a digital wallet like MetaMask or something like that, and you hook that up through your browser. And then you can sign up for a site like OpenSea for free. But once you mint something that's on the Ethereum blockchain, like OpenSea is or Foundation is.
So minting something, correct me if I'm wrong, but it means that we are taking our digital asset and we are putting it permanently on the blockchain, and that there's a fee associated, and usually have to associated with it. And you have to pick a layer 1 to do that on, a smart contract layer 1 to do that on, like Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, Cardano.
Exactly.
So you take your photo, you have your digital copy, and then you're minting it onto your choices, Ethereum, which is what most people are building on.
Which is on the blockchain. So which is
kind of like the Apple iOS App Store, if you want to think of it that way.
Exactly.
That's what like a layer 1 is.
And the fee, depending on the time of day, which is all dependent on how much traffic is happening, is divided out to all the miners who are confirming your transaction. So let's say it's 100,000 computers. That $30 or $50 or $100 sometimes gets divided to all those people for letting their computer compute that transaction. So it's verified, making it the most secure contract that humans have ever figured out how to make. And so it costs a little money, but that right now is kind of the barrier of entry that's keeping the serious people in the game.
I mean, you're the first person I know that personally that has minted series. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I've been working really hard at figuring out the strategy, figuring out like what boiled down group of photos I'm going to do. It's really fun to do. And there's like there's so much inspiring art on this site, on Twitter happening. Like, for some reason, Instagram wasn't exposing me to this art. I have been more excited about art now, possibly more than ever.
One thing that we just did a metaverse explainer, and we were speaking to Mike Novogratz and some people at their fund over there, Galaxy, and they were scrolling through collections that were like never ending how much art some of these guys had on their phone. And it was generative art, some avatars, some different, visual 3D pieces. But I asked them, like, what's the new thing you're getting into? And they all said photography. So it was interesting.
NFT photography.
NFT photography. They said it was having a moment. So
that's crazy.
That's the next thing they were looking into. So wish you the best of luck. I mean, your work speaks for itself, and everybody should grab a Josh Ethan Johnson series. Why not? 0.6 ETH.
There's probably going to be NFT agents at some point that can help broker that, because there's a lot of.
Listen, Guy Osiri, who is Madonna's agent. I mean, the artist he has under his belt is, a mile long. Signed the creator of World of Women, which is a very popular, expensive NFT collection, and Bored Ape Yacht Club guys. Even before they just got doxxed and everyone knew who they were. Nobody knew who those guys were, and he signed them.
Anything's possible. It kind of
Anything's
seems like.
possible. It sounds silly, but like, go watch Brian Gumbel and Katie Couric talk about email
Internet
on the Today Show.
What is internet?
Yeah. They couldn't figure out the @ symbol. They're like, what is that around? Is that about? Like, it sounds ridiculous, but like, we don't know what we don't know right now.
No.
This blockchain's legit and it's not going away.
It's going to disrupt everything. I mean, this is the last thing I'll say is, like, I have been interested in many things in my life. I have poured myself into music, visual arts, photography, video, but finance in the broader sense has been the thing that has consumed, I think, most of my creative brain in the last couple of years, because I've realized that if I'm interested in all these other mediums as a way to potentially, like, disrupt things or improve society or disrupt the powers that be that I see deserve to be disrupted, okay, well, all of a sudden this, like, academic thing called finance possibly is the best tool for exactly that. Not drawing a pretty picture on a wall. It's actually ones and zeros, and understanding these economic structures and the history of it. And that is proving to be the thing that will truly, truly, truly disrupt the power structures that I think should be disrupted.
There's a red dot on your forehead right now.
No, it's funny you said that. No, I'm serious, because
you felt that heat from the CIA right there.
Last night or this morning, Susan was in our small kitchen with me, and she has a tendency to leave things open. And she left one open, and I churned, and it went, darn.
Oh, I meant like from a
I know,
sight.
but I was very self-conscious about this bruise I have, which I don't think you can really see.
I can't see it.
But I was like, I'm going to be on a famous podcast, and I got this bruise on my forehead.
No, it's just some snipers.
Sniper jokes?
Yeah, it's just sniper jokes.
Yeah.
Congrats. I'm excited. I think we're going to have you back soon, and we'll just geek out on blockchain, NFTs.
I love talking about myself. I love photos of myself. I love myself. Anything about me, I love. So please have me back.
Definitely. Jay, thanks for the drinks. Zux, as always, send it to the internet.